Uncle Mark.
Yes.
When was the last time you did any good graffiti?
Oh, it's been a while. I've done some in my life. But
I feel like it's an art that is not taken as seriously as perhaps it should be, because it's mostly stupid.
yes, most of it is completely terrible, and I can tell you, as many times as I've had to clean it off my garage here. But yes, but there is some beautiful work in the field.
Yes.
There is.
Yeah.
And we should be lucky
ain't
that-
talking about no Banksy.
No.
Exactly. No, there's only one, Banksy, and everyone else should stop painting shit. Well, dear uncles, I'll take it from here.
Okay.
Sometimes subjects for this show manifest themselves in online articles or listener recommendations, or from throwing a dart at our enormous spreadsheet of possible topics.
Yeah.
But sometimes they just freaking happen to us. Although not sufficient for its own segment, something did happen to me the other day that directly relates to a segment we did way back in episode 51. In that episode, I talked about one Parley P. Pratt.
Oh, yes. I forgot about this.
How
Yes.
did you forget about this?
I don't know. I can't remember anything these days.
True. He was the portly wife-stealing apostle whose murder at the hands of the husband of one of those wives he stole in Arkansas in 1857 precipitated the Mountain Meadows Massacre, one of the darkest chapters in all of Mormon history. I mentioned in that segment that only blocks from my house there was a statue of the long-departed Parley
Yes.
in the corner of the parking lot of my local grocery store. The reason for this location is that it is directly under the shadow of the mouth of Parley's Canyon, so named because Parley charted that route during the Mormon migration. For those not familiar with the canyon, it runs directly east out of the Salt Lake Valley and is the primary route to Park City, Utah, and eventually Wyoming.
And Colville.
And Colville.
Yeah.
And
Sure.
if you keep
He'll
going,
take you to
Jennifer?
Colville.
Yep.
If you need to get to Hennifer, that's
Yeah.
going to be your best route.
if you keep going, you're going to run into Wyoming at some point.
Yeah. And nobody
it's-
wants you to run into Wyoming.
Nope. Least of all people in Wyoming.
Right.
It's a breathtaking canyon, truly. It is known also as one of the most treacherous stretches of highway in the country for semi-trucks.
You're welcome.
You're welcome. Enjoy. There are a couple runaway truck ramps in the canyon, and more than a couple times I've seen semis, some way up it, having lost their brakes. All this is to say, the other day I went to buy groceries and noticed something missing.
The statue was just fucking gone.
Immediately,
right?
it was gone. I walked over to investigate, and it looked like the statue and the granite rocks upon which it was perched had been scraped off the face of the earth. This was because they had been scraped off the face of the earth. A semi lost its brakes in Parley's Canyon, and instead of using one of the ramps, they decided to take it out on poor Parley himself.
Yeah.
Uncle Mark.
Well, he was well into the city at that point, right? Like, he could have really fucking killed a lot of people if he...
I'm trying to figure out how coming out of that canyon to get kind of into the Parley's where he ended up. You got to make some pretty daring turns. So this guy, I guess, didn't have much of a choice, right? He lost his brakes.
Yeah, good for him.
Yeah. So Uncle Mark tweeted out the article a few days ago about this. No one was hurt, but the confluence.
He did get hurt. He did go to the hospital, but I think he's okay.
Yeah, he not permanently hurt.
Yeah.
Parley was hurt pretty bad.
Parley was atomized.
Yeah.
Parley was utterly and totally destroyed. It's lovely. So I just seem too rich not to mention here, and well, this is not the subject I want to talk about today. I will keep an eye on that corner.
But we do have to mention my tweet that I said if that truck had Arkansas plates, I might have to believe in God again. That's a Mormon deep cut, you guys.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah.
Well, if he makes an appearance, I'll let you know.
Yeah.
And to come full circle, I will bookend this segment with another Mormon reference. So let's get to the actual subject for today's segment. Deep in the heart of the Chiribiquete National Park, I'm sure I nailed it, the largest national park in Colombia and the largest tropical rainforest park in the world, clocking in at an astounding 43,000 square kilometers, or 17,000 square miles if you're not into that whole gay metric system.
Yeah, it's so gay.
There is a small depression in the forest called Cerro Campana, where the white limestone has been exposed for tens of thousands of years. On this particular wall, a group of archaeologists and filmmakers had discovered, we'll come back to that, what they are calling the Sistine Chapel of the Ancients. It's a collection of thousands of pictographs and petroglyphs, some dating back possibly as far as 20,000 years, but are generally thought to be closer to 12,500 years old.
Wow.
Meaning they were begun by some of the very first people to have ever entered the Amazon rainforest. And in
think
case
you
you're
mean-
wondering,
I think you mean
The Jaredites.
submarine Jews, right?
Yeah, the
That's right.
Jaredites. Yeah.
yeah,
Doug, you almost made a terrible mistake. Can you believe it?
I'm telegraphing pretty hard where this is going to end up, aren't I? So, in case you're wondering, a petroglyph is an image carved into the stone, and a pictograph is a drawing or painting on the rock, usually made with pigments or charcoal. Pictographs are more commonly found in caves because wind and water will usually weather them away on exposed surfaces. This makes the Chiribiquete find all the more amazing, as it's primarily pictographs that have somehow survived thousands of years exposed in one of the wettest places in the world.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you haven't looked this up, I highly encourage you to pull up the images of these or look at them later. They're truly amazing.
Yeah.
We should put a link in the show notes.
Yeah, perfect. They are unfortunately a little bit hard to date because the artists use pigments derived from plants rather than charcoal, which can be dated pretty accurately by radiocarbon dating. That's how the scientists were able to so accurately date the cave paintings in is it Lascaux or Lascaux?
Lascaux, yeah.
Lascaux, France. Indeed, these paintings are eerily similar to those ones in Colombia, and around from about the same time. And so
The
it's
ones in France, you mean?
the ones in France and Colombia were etched in similar, eras, and it's kind of amazing to think about how the people who arrived in Colombia and the people who arrived in France, how disparate they were in geography, and basically were painting the same things. So those French paintings were chronicled in Werner Herzog's gorgeous 2010 documentary, The Cave of Forgotten Dreams.
Yeah, not Lascaux, but a cave that had been discovered more recently. Because Lascaux's been known for quite a long time, but I can't remember the name of the cave.
Yeah, I've forgotten. If you haven't seen that documentary yet, I cannot recommend it highly enough. Not only to hear Herzog's captivating accent, but for one of the most off the wall endings to a documentary I've ever seen.
You don't watch enough Herzog documentaries. He always has to pull some ending. Like, did you see the new one about meteorites?
Not yet.
Yeah, watch. It's great, and it's
The bear
exactly-
kills him. Spoiler alert.
The bear kills him.
So one of the ways scientists have been able to date these paintings, at least roughly, is due to what they depict. There are depictions of many animals, including jaguars, crocodiles, deer, fish, turtles, lizards, and birds, which are all species still roaming the jungle. But there are also depictions of mastodons, a paleolama, which is a kind of camelid, giant sloths, and ice age
It's
horses.
a llama who's an asshole and never shuts up about their fucking diet.
So all these animals went extinct about 12,000 years ago in what was probably not a coincidence. They may have all been hunted to extinction by the very people who painted these likenesses. There are depictions of what look like either rituals or hunts or both. Around many of these larger animals are tiny human figures with their arms held high. It's hard to tell if they are worshiping the giant beasts or trying to fell them, and maybe there was no difference.
That's a bad form of worship. If you ask me, if I were a god, I would be like, no, please don't kill me as your
Maybe they
worship.
were just trying to get their attention. Hey,
Hey,
Over here.
Yeah, that's all.
there-
Bye.
bye-bye. There are also depictions of hallucinogenic plants. There's tons of handprints and crazy designs and possible mystical animals or gods. There's figures that are unrecognizable. And so many penises.
So it was done by 12-year-old
Because-
boys.
Yeah, because no matter what era you're from, if there's graffiti, you're gonna have a dick.
You're gonna have a dick.
It's just going to happen.
It seems these ancient artists had come to paint penises and chew bubblegum, and they were all out of bubblegum. Nearly every male figure is depicted either with a flaccid or erect penis. And if these depictions are in any way accurate, then these dudes had nothing to compensate for. How some of these paintings were done is also a mystery. There are paintings upwards of 50 feet off the jungle floor that modern scientists can only view using drones. However, again, the answer might be in the art itself. There are depictions of what appear to be wooden towers, and maybe even people bungee jumping off them.
Oh, fun.
Yeah, this ritual known as land diving is still practiced by tribes on Pentecost Island and Vanuatu, off the coast of
I
Australia.
was just trying to remember where that was that
Yep.
they do that crazy thing.
Yeah, if you've never seen it, go to YouTube and watch it. It's
scary as fuck.
Something, yeah.
Yeah.
These guys leap off the top of these kind of bamboo scaffoldings.
Yeah.
And they try and actually tap their head on the ground. And apparently the G-forces endured by the jumpers has only been exceeded in human history by jet pilots.
Wow.
So it's
Yeah.
just it's a weird thing.
Their stop gets arrested so suddenly at the last second, you're sure they're going to die.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
And-
dudes know how to party.
Yeah. And it turns out this practice might have been, on both sides of the globe. Scientists believe that the paintings were originally done by the ancestors of the Carajona tribe. I'm sure I'm mispronouncing that. There is not a lot known about this tribe except that, like many other tribes in the region, the Spanish found them to be very killable. When contact was first made by a Spanish soldier in 1790, they were estimated to number around 15,000. Today, the estimate is around 60.
Yeah.
60. Yeah, they have been pretty much decimated. Before being destroyed by disease and the rubber boom, which was one of the biggest things to do lasting damage to the Amazon, they were a fierce and feared tribe and a regional power who often ate their enemies. In fact, one of the driving forces behind the creation of the Chiribiquete Park in the first place was to try and preserve what's left of the Carajona and the many other tribes in that region. Local indigenous rights activists have, as you might imagine, mixed feelings about the discovery for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
These paintings have been sighted all over the Amazon, and this discovery is only unique in its size and scope. The worry that this become a tourist destination, particularly in the time of COVID, has locals understandably worried.
Yeah.
Toss on the pile that these mostly white scientists and filmmakers are claiming credit for discovering these paintings that local tribes have known about all along.
Right.
But before you pack... What's
But
that?
look, in the English language, discover means white dude saw it first.
Yeah.
Yep,
First time a white dude saw it. That's what that
Yeah.
word means.
We don't make the rules, Doug.
that's true. Don't hate the player.
We just benefit from them.
That's right. But before you pack up the camper and head down there, this region is not for the faint of heart. Not only is the area lousy with caimans, if you don't know what those are, they're little alligators.
They're cute little crocodiles.
Big enough.
Plenty big. It's also home to the Lachesis, a.k.a. the Bushmaster, the deadliest snake in the Americas, whose venom has an 80% mortality rate. And, of course, there are spiders there, so I won't be going. This is also an area in which the FARC, or Fuerzas Armadas Revolucionarias de Colombia, have been active for decades. Whatever you may or may not know about the FARC, one thing is for certain, you do not want to meet them in person.
Yeah, because they're spiders.
They're not afraid of spiders. That's what makes them scary.
That's pretty scary to me. Although they disbanded in 2017, winding up a guerrilla army that's been hiding in the jungle since the 60s can take a while.
Yeah.
And not for nothing, but legends persist of cannibalism in what's left of the Carajona tribe. So it's a lovely region. All this is to say, although some effort was expended to preserve some semblance of the Carajona religion, language, and culture, which almost certainly would have given us some insight into the original artists of that and their religion, most of it is lost. And the remaining Carajona, being mostly elderly and threatened with habitat destruction, what's left of their culture, religion, language, everything might be gone in less than a generation.
Wow.
It seems like the largest section of the graveyard of the gods are the countless unmarked gravestones of the myriad gods whose names, attributes, and stories are forever lost. This seems to be the unfortunate case of these artists and the beliefs that motivated them and gave them such Carl Hungus-level penises. Now, I mentioned I would bookend this segment with something Mormon, and longtime listeners will have no trouble seeing how a 12,500-year-old cave painting in the Colombian Amazon has a direct, if altogether silly, connection to our local real estate development agency masquerading as a religion. This is, of course, because the founding document of the Mormon faith, the Book of Mormon, purports to be the comprehensive history of the indigenous peoples of the Americas, who were, of course, a single family of Jews that landed on the continent about 600 BCE. And before you at me that the Jaredites came to America in wooden submarines 1,000 years before Nephi, as Uncle Mark chronicled in episode 146, remember, that defense makes you sound very silly. And even
Don't
still,
use that defense.
That's right.
Yeah. Use all the other Mormon defenses. Those
Yeah,
sound really, really good.
Yeah, you're outing yourself a little bit with that. And even still, these paintings predate even Mohanre Moriankumer by 10,000 years. And as the Book of Mormon mentions elephants and horses, seeing paintings of these very animals on this very continent may give a Mormon a glimmer of hope, Once again, these animals went extinct on this continent 10,000 years before the Book of Mormon even begins. And so, for the 1,000th time, evidence has been unearthed of the indigenous peoples of the Americas, and once again, it disgraces the Book of Mormon. Not one piece of evidence, not one, has ever been found to confirm anything the Book of Mormon says, including this. So, Mormons, why do you keep hitting yourselves?
I've been seeing I just watched a whole bunch of intolerably smug videos made by the fairmormon.org group that would beg to differ and make and mock you mercilessly for your stupidity. No, you're the one that's dumb.
I haven't had the stomach to watch those yet. They just seem horrendous, but
They really are. They're a nightmare.
yeah.
So yeah, that's. I mean, the coffin for the Book of Mormon has to be mostly nails at this point. But
Right?
but yeah, there it is. These are these mysterious and beautiful paintings by a soon-to-be completely vanished group of people are quite something.
Even if it was them, and there's no real solid proof, right, that it was them.
there's anthropologically they suspect that these people, that tribe has basically
been there for that long.
Yeah. Yep.
There you go.
There you
Wow.
go.
All right, well, go vandalize some rock art, guys.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. All right. Bye.